In the game of life, it's all about the tale. Craft your story right, every ship will sail. From brick and mortar to dreams unveiled. In storytelling and selling, we'll never fail. Roads to success, open with a key. When you're pitching homes or a legacy, listen to the beat, let your mind be free. Marketing magic magnified by 3. Storytelling and selling, where dreams align. Words weave wonders, this stage is mine. Hustle and heart in every single line. For real estate agents and small biz sunshine. From blueprint visions to the grand reveal. In the art of the deal, let's keep it real. Crafting connections, oh the appeal. With every sold home, we spin that wheel. Dial up the charm, let your passion ignite. From the cityscape shimmer to the soft porch light. Say it with flair, make the moment bright. 'Cause in storytelling and selling, we aim for flight. Storytelling and selling, where dreams align. Words weave wonders, this stage is mine. Hustle and heart in every single line.
Hey everybody, what's up and welcome to the show. So, what is happening? You're shy, you're quiet, or at least that's what they say. You don't like people, or at least you don't like being around them, or at least that's what they say. You don't like public speaking or being in front, or worse, selling, or at least that's what they tell you. Introvert. Yes, that's the label you have and how you operate. So how do you even live or function as a real estate agent or a business owner? My goodness, what is an INTJ to do? Let's talk about it today. OMG, let's rock and roll.
3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Welcome, come on in. Storytelling, time to begin with Ep2, getting down to biz. Real estate pros and small town winners. Oh, we're telling tales, we're selling dreams. Crafting your stories, cashing in on schemes. In the house of hustle where the jazz beats flow. Storytelling and selling, it's Ep2 show.
Hey, my friends, welcome to the Storytellin and Sellin podcast with Ep2. This is episode 2, and I'm so glad that you are in the space. In case you haven't heard, the Storytellin and Sellin podcast is that show built to support real estate professionals and small business owners in their quest to unlock their sales power, superpower at that. We believe that the superpower is rooted in storytelling. Become a better storyteller, become a better seller. It's all about connection. When you connect, you're more likely to do business. Today's episode is sponsored by Toner. Toner provides the best solution for artists, creative podcasters, and business owners that are waiting to come out, waiting to be noticed, and looking to connect with their customers. Toner allows you to own high-quality professional audio recording devices without pinching your wallet. They've created a perfect balance by designing products that provide you with superior sound quality. Toner. For more info, head on over to tonermic.com. All right, listen, we're going to have a good old time today. We're going to have a good old time. So we're at the point of the show where I like to call relevant revelations. Relevant Revelations, a segment of our show where we talk quickly about a quick nugget or news item in real estate, small biz, tech, and storytelling. So what's our first relevant revelation today? All right, let's go with number 1. Ooh, yes, home listings are up 60% in some cities, according to CNBC. Wow, my goodness. Can y'all believe this? This is where we are. I want you to check this part out, though. From a regional perspective, listings rose 46% in the South, 36% in the West, 24% in the Midwest, and 15% in the Northeast. What's up with the Northeast, people? My goodness. What does this mean for you as a real estate agent? What does this mean for you as a home buyer? What does this mean for you as a seller? Well, there are a lot of different things. What it does mean right now is just that the inventory is increasing, which means, the prices are going to be a shifting just a little bit. Maybe not down to where they were, but you're going to see some stabilization and going down a little bit. All right, number 2. What's our number 2 item? Oh, yeah. Fake online reviews are a big challenge for small business owners. What's happening is that there are a lot of bots. There's some mean people out there too, I think. But small business owners, including real estate agents, are having to deal with online reviews and testimonials that are fake, that are a headache, right? And so they're hoping that the FTC, according to U.S. News and World Report, they're hoping that the FTC can step in, the Federal Trade Commission can step in and begin to add some regulations to all of that. All right, that's number 2. Number 3, AI tech. Yes, AI technology is being introduced for the real estate industry in a little bit of a different way. Some luxury realty groups are launching conversational AI as a part of their brokerage operations, right? And so what's going to happen, users will be able to do home searches and even tour properties before needing to speak to an agent, right? There's a group called Luxury Realty Group that has launched their new AI avatar, and this is on housingwire.com. So if you want to learn a little bit more about what AI tech is doing and how AI avatars are going to become a part of the game, then check that out. And then finally, our last tidbit or nugget for today, surprise, 50% of people prefer communicating with a human. Yes, when they were polled with regard to AI chatbots, speaking of technology, 50% of people said that they prefer to communicate with a human rather than an AI chatbot. Now, younger generations, millennials and Gen Z, are more comfortable with this, but only 13% of millennials and Gen Z said that they would choose AI before they chose a human. Yeah, wow. 1 in 2 customers prefer a real human over an AI chatbot when chatting online. Yeah, and this is by Katana. So if you follow the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, I'll also share the links for this information in the show notes so that you can know that I'm not making up stories and you can get the real information. All right. So lastly, let's jump on in. Before we jump on into the show, I believe that storytelling is the most powerful form of communication. And I also believe that one of the best ways to grow your business is through public speaking. Some of you might be freaked out a little bit and not know what to do or where to get started. So we're putting together a powerhouse group that will walk together towards building a better business through public speaking. And we're getting started soon. Learn more about it by signing up at story2salesmastermind.com. It's a little bit... It says another link on the screen there, but it's the same place, learnwithrk3.com/S2S mastermind. But you can just go to story2salesmastermind.com. All right, let's jump on in with our guest today. We're going to talk with a top realtor in the state of Chicago. Yes, I'm aware I said the state of Chicago. I heard her talking about being an introvert on a social media post as a realtor, and I just had to have her come on the show because... if you didn't believe this, hey, this dude right here in the orange shirt, RK3, yeah, that's what I'm labeled as well. All right. Our guest today, Shay Hata, is an Ivy League grad, a mom, and a residential realtor. She moved to Chicago in 2012 and jumped into real estate in a brand new city. Wow, she's braver than I was. When I moved, I didn't jump right into my real estate. I gave up my license. OMG. Yeah. So she jumped into real estate in a brand new city where she didn't know anyone. was new to real estate, and 10 years later, she's got a small team consisting of 2 other agents and 4 assistants, and she averages, ooh, get this, 150 transactions per year in Chicago, 75 million in transaction volume in 2020. She moved to Denver, so now she is a bi-city person, and she splits her time between Denver and Chicago, sells real estate in both markets, and here's the human stuff. Yeah, she's passionate about animal rescue as well as making sure that every child has access to a quality education. So, with that in mind, she donates a portion of each of her commissions to local animal rescue groups and local schools. OMG, we got a humanitarian, a philanthropic realtor, somebody who's just awesome and amazing. Shay Hata, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much. That was the kindest introduction. I really appreciate it, Robert. And I love your song that starts. I was dancing along in the background as it was playing. It's so fun. So I'm really excited to be here today.
I love that you're here. So I'll start out with this question. The whole point of today's show is how do introverts even function in the world here? So let's start with this. How did you find out that you were an introvert?
I've always been an introvert. I mean, I was that kid at school who didn't want to go to the school dances, who wanted to stay home and read a book. I didn't, my school didn't, it was really small. I grew up in Alaska. We didn't really have prom and all of those kinds of things. And that suited me really well. And COVID was my jam. I was like, I don't have to leave my house for months. Like, this is
Yes.
amazing. And I loved it. So yeah, I've just since birth, I've always been an introvert. I've always been great one-on-one with people. I hate groups. Like going to a cocktail party to me is the equivalent of having to stick a fork in my eye. It sounds really awful. So if I can do all my work, never talking to anybody or leaving my home, that's my happy place.
Wow, you're bringing back memories. I know COVID was a crazy time for a lot of people, and some people were really sad. I loved. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Totally.
I absolutely enjoyed a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Not
So
having to leave my house was great.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So let me ask you the some of the misconceptions that people have when we talk about introverts or introversion. People think about introverts as shy, quiet, withdrawn, recluse, hermits, doesn't want to be involved with, don't want to talk about, don't want to be, don't want to be in conversations with people. Do you consider yourself quiet? I mean, what does being an introvert mean for you?
I do if I'm in a big group. That's
Mhm.
where I get or just in a group in general is where I get really introverted. I am really great one-on-one with people. I like building deep connections with people on a one-on-one basis. So I have a lot of friends, but they're all kind of one-on-one. We get together, just the two of us and go out and do something, and that's where I'm really comfortable.
Yeah.
Is those like deep relationships where we can really talk about deep things. I am terrible at superficial conversations with people. I'm terrible at like cocktail chatter, all of those kinds of things. So, I consider myself a friendly person. I consider myself somebody who loves conversation, but I like deep conversation with one person at a time.
Ah, okay. Okay. So so let's talk about how this really is your superpower, or how do you leverage this with regard to sales? Do you operate differently than you've been trained to operate? How do you incorporate your introvert nature with sales?
I think you really have to look at what your strengths are. And I think you have to look at what you like doing. Because what I have found over the years is if I don't like doing something, I'm not going to do it and I'm not going to be good at it. And it's going to come across as very inauthentic. And so what I did was really sat down and I wrote a list of the things that I do like, which is I like getting to know my clients one on one. I like going out and doing showings with them because it's that, again, that one on one relationship. So I think most, real estate coaches and gurus and all the advice to grow your business is, you've got to lead generate for 3 hours a day. You need to be on the phone cold calling people. You need to be working for sale by owners. You need to be working expireds and all of those kinds of things. You need to be door knocking and farming neighborhoods. When I look at that list of stuff, that looks terrible to me. It's stuff that I know I'm never going to do, as no matter how long it's on my to-do list. If I showed up at somebody's door and knocked on the door, I would be a blabbering idiot because I wouldn't know what to say because I'd be
Yeah.
so uncomfortable and that would come across and they wouldn't want to hire me. So I looked at that list and said, I know that works for some people, but that is not going to work for me. What is going to work for me is honing in on my skills where I'm good at one-on-one. And so I sat down and I made a list of how can I do that in a real estate business? And so things that really work for me are open houses. As crazy as that sounds, when somebody can come in and I can have a one-on-one conversation with them. I built my business on open houses. I would do 4 a weekend, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and then treating my clients like gold. So, in the beginning, when I didn't have very many clients, I would drop off pizza on their moving day and see how the move was going. A couple of them, I helped pack some stuff for them.
Wow.
I do a lot of client events, dropping off gifts, taking them out to dinners, things that really accentuate my strengths versus trying to do something that a coach tells me to do that I know is not going to be comfortable for me to do.
Wow. Wow. So do you find I don't think you are doing research or you're not doing data collection, but as you hang around agents, as you connect with agents, do you find that the majority of agents are in that introvert bucket or more in the extrovert bucket? Or maybe it's people who have been identified in one way, but have been taught or trained that they need to show up a certain way.
I think
What's your finding?
I think that's exactly it because I go, I'll speak at large public conventions and I'll talk about this. And it's always shocking to me. The feedback of the audience is, oh my gosh, that's me. That's me. But I've been trying to be really extroverted and I've been trying to cold call 3 hours a day and things like that. And it's not working. And I'm like, it's not going to work because it's not who you are. And I think that especially this day and age, like your relevant relevation said, people want to talk to a human 50% of the time. I think as our world has gone more online and we have felt more socially disconnected, people are
Yeah.
yearning for connection with a real human and they want it to feel authentic. And so I think what works in real estate is being authentic and coming across with your true self. And so when you can do that by just really connecting with somebody one on one, that resonates with them more so than you knocking on their door and it feeling very inauthentic.
Wow. So was all of this stuff that you just figured out, or was there somebody, some resource that you used to help really ground you and help you to figure out what works best for you?
It was sort of a fail that I had in a previous business. So
Mm.
prior to being in real estate, I owned an art education company for children in Minnesota when I lived there. And I was young when I opened that first business. I was 23 or something like that, and I had no customers yet. And I remember my dad calling, and he went to voicemail because I couldn't pick up the phone. And on my voicemail, I had said something along the lines of, due to high call volume, I cannot answer your phone call at the time. Please leave your name and number and I'll get back to you when I can. And my dad knew I had no customers whatsoever. And when I got him on the phone, he was like, Shay, he's like, what are you doing? He was like, especially a business that works with people's children, they don't want to feel like they are just a number and, part of the system. They want to feel like they are special to you and that you care about them and you care about your children. He was like, my dad has owned a lot of businesses. He was like, that is a terrible message. You need to take that off immediately. And he's like, no matter how big you eventually get, he's like, you need to make every customer feel like they are your only customer. And that really stuck with me. And so when I started my real estate business, I built it on that same principle of now when I talk to my clients, I truly try to make them feel like they are my only customer. And it's so funny because oftentimes they'll joke with me, we don't know how you
Yeah.
do this because we feel like we're your only client, but we know you have a lot of clients. And so making people feel listened to and important and special has become kind of one of the centers of my business. And it came from the terrible voicemail that I decided to have
Yeah.
as my outgoing message in my first business.
Wow. So I love that. And as somebody who is identified as introvert, it almost seems like there's a conflict there, right?
Mm,
Because you're focusing in on ones with a lot of different people. And it feels like that can be draining as well to go around and do one conversations when you might just do a party or an event or be in the front of the room and speak and contact a bunch of people that way. How do you manage that energy?
Yeah, it's exhausting. So when I enjoy that one-on-one with somebody, but it absolutely drains me. Same thing with
Mhm.
speaking. I do enjoy public speaking and I do it. I'm exhausted afterwards. I have to go back to my hotel room and like take a nap or just be quiet for an hour or two. It's like after this podcast, I'll be tired. Like this
Yeah.
kind of stuff drains my energy. And so it's really about kind of managing your calendar and trying to figure out how I can be efficient with my time. So, like, one of the best things that I have found that we have done along this vein is to do pop ins instead of pop
Mhm.
buys. And so we will say we're doing them during the first weekend of October. So we're having a mani pedi party at a nail salon, and we're having people come there. And over the course of a bunch of hours, they can get a manicure and a pedicure. And so all I have to do is kind of go around one on one and chat with them for a few minutes and then go on to the next one. So that works really well. Or we've done them at like an ice cream place before where I will say, I'm going to be at this ice cream place from 2 to 4 p.m. Pop
Yeah.
by if you want during that time, and I'll buy you an ice cream cone. And then they're able to pop by. I'm able to talk to each person for just a couple of minutes without it feeling like a cocktail party because they're not all there at the same time.
Yeah.
I buy their ice cream, we chat, off they go. And so that's been a good way to kind of see a number of people and have it feel more one on one in a shorter amount of time, where then afterwards I can go take a nap.
Yeah, connection. I love the intentionality about being connected. So, as you do all of this, I don't know how you operate. I know there's some stuff that I've got to say to myself, right? I'm heading to a networking event, I'm heading to a speaking event, I'm doing something, and there's a story I've got to tell myself internally before I get into that space. What story do you tell yourself?
Oh, you're braver than me. You said networking event, and I really inside went, oh gosh, that sounds horrible. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing for me that I'm just like, oh, I can't do it. So it's like, how can I grow my business knowing that I can't? Like, it's really hard for me to go and do things like a networking event because that's so far outside of my comfort zone. So
Mhm.
for me, one of the things that really has helped me, and I don't remember who told me this, but they said, Shay, don't think of yourself as selling something. They said, think of yourself as helping someone. And so
Mhm.
that is what I always tell myself when I meet somebody. I'm not trying to sell them a house. I am trying to help them find the right house or help them get out of a situation like a divorce or something like that. And so
Yeah.
then that takes the pressure off of me because I don't feel like I have to sell. I feel like I have to help, and I like to help, and that makes me feel good about myself. So just that little switch in my mind made a big difference.
Love it. Love it. Excellent. Excellent. So we're getting close to landing the plane here a little bit, but I want to make sure that we really hit on your your process for connecting with your clients. I mean, you talked about pop-ins just
Mhm.
now. You talked about some of the different areas or spaces that you invite them so you're not having to do all of the extra work. When you think about introverts, outside of what you've already said, do you have any additional tips that an introvert agent or an introvert business owner can use to be intentional about their sales every day?
I think a lot of it for introverts comes down to systems, as silly as that sounds.
Mhm.
So, like for instance, when somebody reaches out to me, I don't like to talk on the phone. I really hate it. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me. So I avoid phone calls at all costs. And so I have a system when somebody reaches out and they want to talk to me about buying or selling a house. I immediately ask for their email address, usually via text message. I'll respond back to them and say, I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of something. I couldn't pick up the phone. Can I have your email address? I'm going to send you a survey. I send them a very detailed survey, which you can see a copy of on my website. It's buysellovechicago.com. So if you click on buyers or sellers, you'll see the
Yeah.
ready to buy survey or the ready to sell survey. I ask them to fill that out. Then we schedule a follow up Zoom call where I will Zoom with them one on one to go over the survey. One of the questions that I ask in that survey is how they prefer to be communicated because I don't like the phone. And I find most people don't like the phone. They prefer text message, and I am much more comfortable with text message. So I try to train my clients to always text me if they need something rather
Yeah.
than call because that is more comfortable for me. The other thing that I have is a very robust CRM that I use that sends out automated communications to every client almost every single day from when we get under contract to close, that tells them what is the next step in the process, so that they don't have to reach out to me to ask those questions and I don't have to have those conversations with them. Instead, they're getting an email from me every day that's like, hey, tomorrow's the inspection. Here's what you need to know about what happens at an inspection. Here's the next step. So by having systems and being proactive in my communication that goes out to them, they don't have to talk to me as much. And that's better for me as an introvert to kind of keep that actual one-on-one communication down unless they really need me.
Yeah, I love it. So I wouldn't be who I am without asking you this question. We're talking about communication. We're talking about connection. How do you utilize stories in your sales process?
I try to find something that relates with my clients. I'm a single mom to an
Mhm.
8-year-old, and so I joke all the time to my clients, like, thank you so much for using me as your realtor, because I'm a single mom to an 8-year-old who has a massive appetite. Like, I'm not kidding. He eats like a college linebacker, and it's true. And so I say to people, like, you using me allows my kid to eat 80,000 calories a day. And I really appreciate that I can feed him all of that food, and put a roof over my house. And I talk about how, I grew up pretty poor. I was the daughter of a single mom, and I
Yeah.
started going into her cookie store at the age of 4 and working in the cookie store. And if we didn't sell cookies, we didn't have money to eat. And so, I think just sharing your story with people and being very honest with them about
Yeah.
your story and finding something you can relate, people want to work with people that they like. And so
Yeah.
if you can relate to them and they can like you, they will become loyal for life if you treat them well and you are there for them. They will be there for you. And so to me, that's been the key to growing my business, is being authentic and creating those lifelong relationships with my clients by telling my story to them.
Love it. So let's land here. What event, what growth activity are you headed to next? I know you speak at conferences. Where you headed to next, or what is the next activity that you're embarking on to grow yourself and your business?
Yeah. So I'm going to be speaking at there's a GRI conference in Montana that's coming up in October. So I'm one of the speakers who is speaking at that. And, really, honestly, my honest answer is I'm going to plan some vacations for 2025.
I love
And
it.
I think it's really important that we take time to recharge and get away from the business. And I haven't done enough of that in the past. And so I'm going to continue to work and speak, but I'm also going to carve out more time for myself to step away and recharge my batteries.
I love it. Shay, this has been phenomenal. Thanks so much for hanging out on the Storytelling and Selling podcast. It's been my pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun. I really appreciate it. And I want to hear your song again so I can dance.
Oh, yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Hey, y'all, that was a fantastic episode. I'll bet you learned a thing or two about you. And that thing or two is your story, right? And this is one of the best tools that you have in your sales, your story. But it's also important to understand the story of your prospect, your client, and your customer so that you can connect. Connect with them on an experiential level, connect with them on an emotional level, connect with them on a heart level. Yeah, even if you're an introvert. Do me a favor. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or one of the audio channels, you can subscribe there too. Come join us for the next show. We do these live on Mondays at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Daylight Time, whatever time it is on the Eastern Coast of the United States. We're on YouTube, LinkedIn. You can grab the replays there. And if you want to know when we're going live, you want to be texted, text podcast to 240-557-8679. Okay. Remember, text podcast to 240-557-8679, and we'll let you know when we are going live next. Today has been fabulous, and tomorrow will be phenomenal. Think it, then do it. Until then, be stellar, storyteller.
the beat where the deals are made. RK3's mic as sharp as a blade. Pros and biz come take a ride. In this podcast, dreams collide.
From open house to startup glam, strategy so slick they'll put you on the map. Robert Kennedy's got the formula for turning small dreams into a mega aura. Storytelling, selling it right. Tune in, folks, we'll ignite your night. From 9 to 5 or the moonlight grind, RK3's got the secrets you'll wanna find.